The purpose in this video is to give you all the basic tools that you will need to create functional and interesting food service displays. While each display artist brings his or her own touch to an event, consistency in presentation is crucial. We pride ourselves on serving fine foods that are artfully displayed, and our clients expect a certain look when attending one of our events. Elements of height is a term we use to describe equipment used to create multi-level display surfaces. As a general rule, every station should have at least 3 different elements of height for a visually interesting effect. We use items such as copper pots and marble slabs, metal benches, and glass sheets and vases to create these elements of height. Vases and candles can also be used to create different levels and a more interesting display. When using display linens, don't just lay them on the table like an overlay or cover elements of height with them. You want to weave the display linens around the other elements of height, drape them from one table to another, find creative ways to use them. When stacking china on the table, do not stack them too high. Place any dishes that do not fit comfortably back in the pantry area for a staff person to replenish. You can stack plates at different heights to add visual interest to your display. Silverware can be displayed in a decorative manner as well. You can fan them out on the table, you can place them in a copper pot. Find your own creative ways for displaying items like these. By following our step-by-step approach, you will be able to quickly and effectively create beautiful and functional food service displays. Step 1. Plan out your day. Read over the menu, asking any questions that you may have at this time. This is a sample menu. You'll notice under stationary hors d'oeuvres, there's a Mediterranean display and Bourguignon crudité. It outlines all the different ingredients for each item, how many bowls you will need, your serving utensils, everything is listed in a box next to the menu listing. On the left-hand side of the menu, it will tell you what kind of plates and napkins, utensils that the guests will need. Step 2. You will have an equipment checklist designating every item that is to be used on the stationary hors d'oeuvre. Once you have all the items from the checklist gathered, you can begin setting up your display. Step 3. You're going to set up your tables and linens. Now, before you set up your tables, you want to take a look at some details about them. Every table has a locking mechanism underneath. You need to make sure that these tables are locked before you set anything up on them. If you set them up improperly, you risk the table collapsing and everything falling. You never want to drag table legs across the floor. You risk damaging floors, scratching wood surfaces. So always make sure to lift the table. Place it on the floor carefully. If it's too large a table to manage yourself, get someone to help you. When setting up the linens, you want to make sure that it's even on the table, it's not short on one side, long on another. Again, if the linen's uneven, you finish your display, you might have to take the whole thing apart just to straighten the linen underneath. Step 4. You need to plan your layout. If the station is going to be in the center of the room and guests will be accessing it from all sides, you need to make sure that things are distributed in such a way that people can get to them from all sides. You need to have plates on different corners, napkins on different corners, food items available from all the way around. There are times when the stations are kept against the wall and the guests will be lining up on one side of the table and moving across the line. You want to make sure that the first things that are accessible to them, plates, napkins, silverware, things that they'll need to pick up their food items. So this is going to be a table that's accessible all the way around. Step 5. You want to add your elements of height. Elements of height are used to create an interesting visual effect on the table. You don't want to just lay food items flat on a surface. There's a lot of different things that you can use. Metal benches, copper pots, marble tiles, glass vases and sheets. A lot of different things to create elements of height. When using items such as glass vases to create multi-level surfaces, You can do some interesting and creative things with these. Every party will have items such as lemons, display greens, coffee beans, all kinds of interesting things that you can use for color and texture in a display. You can put items inside these glass vases just to give it a little bit of a more interesting look. Combination of lemon and ivy leaf inside a glass vase, very attractive. You can use glass sheets or marble tiles on top of these things to create your surfaces. Make sure that everything's stable, it's not going to fall, you got to touch it. As a general rule, you want to have at least 3 elements of height minimum on every station for an interesting look. The more that you add, the more interesting your display is going to be. Step 6, display linens. Display linens should match the colors and themes of your event. If they send you items that aren't appropriate, don't use them. You should have 2, sometimes 3 display linens per station, depending on the requirements of the party. You can do a lot of interesting things with these. What you don't want to do is lay them flat on a table like an overlay. You want to use them and weave them in and out of your elements of height. Play around with it until you find something that looks good. So now we have our basic structure of the table setup. We have our elements of height, our display linens, some textural elements in glass vases. We're ready to move on to the next step. Step 7, placing your serving dishes and utensils. Now that you've got the basic structure set up, you want to determine where you're going to display your food items. I've looked at my menu, determined what dishes I'm going to use. This station has 3 food items. I have 3 surfaces. The dishes are in place. Now we want to add the utensils. Check your menu. Make sure you know the utensils that are going to be used for each dish. Might be serving tongs, butter knives, soup spoons, a lot of different things. You want to put the designated serving piece next to the dish and the items that are being served. You want to keep a lookout for equipment sent that's inappropriate. You might have a sauce that needs a ladle. You want to make sure that the ladle that's sent isn't too big for the bowl and doesn't look awkward. You also want to make sure it's not too small, so when it's put in the dish, it doesn't slide down and disappear. Step 8, place any china or utensils that the guests will be using on the table. Again, think about the directions that the guests will be coming. If they're going to be coming from one side, this should all be on one. If they're approaching from all around, you want to put different piles around on the table. You can also use china as elements of height. When stacking china on the table, you never want to stack it too high so it looks awkward or unstable. And when doing piles of plates, you want to do a couple at varying heights next to each other. This also adds to the emphasis of the spread. You can get creative when displaying things like silverware. You can put them in a copper pot on the table, or you can display them in other interesting ways. Find your own creative solutions. Step 9, add your final decorative elements. Now that we've got everything in place to make this station functional, we've got our elements of height in place to give it a visually interesting look, we can start looking at ways of adding interesting details. Votive candles are a really nice way to add some interest, some light, and some texture to your displays. And finally, adding final touches such as greens. You can use these in a variety of different ways. Again, use your own creativity. Something's not working, change it. If the table looks overcrowded, remove a few items that aren't necessary. You can also have food items spill out on the table coming out of items such as wooden bowls, basket, things like that. And the final step, step 10, the final step is labeling your food dishes. If you're working the party, you may be taking these dishes down to the chef yourself, but just to clarify things, make it easier for everyone to understand, make it easier for people to help you, it's a good idea to label all the food dishes. You can get some masking tape from the kitchen to label the food dishes. Today I just have Post-it notes. Write the name of the food item on the tape, put it on the rim of the bowl. This way, other people can help you to fill the food items. The bowls can be taken down to the kitchen and they will know exactly what item is designated for each bowl. And that's your stationery hors d'oeuvre. If you follow these 10 steps, you will successfully complete a functional and attractive food buffet.